Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalrin. Today Blizzard are releasing information on priests, mages, and paladins, and out of those three classes, I play priest. And I want to check out what Shadow is all about, so let's check out priest for the day. And I'm actually excited because there's a lot of things happening. Holy is supposed to be only a healing spec, Shadow is supposed to be full on damage with insanity mechanic, and the disc is a bit in the middle. Either a hybrid, or a healer, or a DPS, can't quite tell, but Blizzard says it's a full on healer, and it's supposed to be as good as Holy. Except you balance healing and damage, so let's check it out. First one, we have Holy Priest. Okay, let's start in easy, something that's probably not changed that much. The most adept priests leave their house of worship to serve on the battlefield as a shepherd to flock. I really like the flavor text, I gotta say. Alright, so they have heal, which is basically the same, flash heal, which is basically the same. Holy Word Serenity is a new one. 1 minute cooldown, 4% mana. Perform a miracle, healing an ally for an absolutely massive amount. I like perform a miracle part. Alright, so that's an interesting one. So they have a big single target coolie. I believe that's the same one, or similar to what they have for Serendipity. No, not Serendipity, but for different chakras. There's a single target, AoE target, single target chakra, AoE chakra, offensive chakra. So that might be the single target one. Maybe they have access to it without chakras. Prayer of healing, same thing. Prayer of mending to bounce around from person to person, yep, same thing. Holy Word Sanctity, 5% mana, 1 minute cooldown. Releases miraculous light onto a target location, heal up to 6 allies within 10 yards for a huge amount. If the way I'm looking at it, the way I imagine that is a lot like the Paladin AoE heal at level 90. To throw down a hammer and it heals in an area. I'm thinking that's what it's going to be like. Another 1 minute cooldown, so I guess the AoE version of Holy Word Serenity. Interesting. Renew is still there, okay. So Renew is still the hot heal over time. Then you have Serendipity, which is a passive. When you cast Flash Heal or Heal, the cooldown of Holy Word Serenity is reduced by 6 seconds. When you cast Prayer of Healing or Prayer of Mending, the cooldown of Holy Word Sanctity is reduced by 6 seconds. Nice. And when you cast Smite or Holy Fire, the cooldown of Holy Word Chastise is reduced by 6 seconds. This makes me think that they will have access to Chastise, Serenity, and Sanctity at the same time. So they'll have access to the offensive, which is Chastise, single target, which is Serenity, and AoE, which is Sanctity. And if you cast single target heals, your single target mass spell gets a reduction cool. If you cast AoE spells, mass AoE ability gets a reduction cool. And if you cast offensive spells, your offensive CC gets a reduction cool. That's actually really cool. Now I wonder what's the cooldown of Chastise, because what if you Chastise, Holy Fire, Smite, Chastise, and you can do it back over and over and over? The mass CC is going to be real. Mastery of Light, your direct healing spells heal for an additional 25%, so basically same thing that they've had. So Priest didn't really change that much, but it feels like they added more control to their abilities and overall class. Interesting, I like this so far. I don't know how they're going to be in PvP, but that's what I end up relating them to, is to PvP. Additionally, to give an idea of what some of the talents of this build, some of the talents may build upon this, here's an example. Holy, it's called Apotheosis. Instant 3 minute cooldown. Enter a pure holy form for 30 seconds, increasing the effect of Serendipity by 200%. Oh wow, that's actually really cool. That's a 3 minute cooldown though, for 30 seconds. That's gonna be insane for AoE and single target heals, but I wonder if Chastise is going to be an offensive damage dealer. I know it's a CC for the most part, but it deals damage. That's awesome. Pure Holy Form. Ascendance for Holy Priest. Interesting, interesting. Then we have Shadow, which is what I've been playing for the longest time. Shadow Priest is what I'm all about, or what I've been about for a while. Okay, so let's... supposedly they changed them to the servants of old gods in a way, so tentacles and all that. Hentai porn INB4. These dark priests thrive, embracing insanity and feeding off of the minds of their opponents to reach terrifying new limits. That's actually a pretty cool flavor text for them. Alright, so they get a new thing called the Void Form, which is a passive. When you reach 100 insanity, you enter Void Form, transforming your mind spells into Void spells, increasing your shadow damage by 30%. Nice, nice. That makes me think of what this demonology world like basically lost, the metamorphosis form, except they get it once they reach 100 insanity. So once the resource fills up, they're insanity, and I'm gonna guess it drains after a while. While in Void form, you gain 2% haste every 1 second. That's a lot. The haste will also persist for 20 seconds after Void form ends, so you don't lose all bursts after your Void form is gone, which is great. I wonder how much haste can they honestly build. Void Form causes your insanity to constantly drain faster and faster until completely drained and Void Form ends. So a lot like what Destruction Warlocks lost with Metamorphosis, except this is Void Form and applying for Shadow Priest. Interesting mechanic. So that means the Warlocks is going to get something even cooler that I can only guess. Mind Flay is basically the same. 40 hours channeled, no mana cost on it whatsoever anymore. Also, target with Shadow Energy, slowing the movement, while in Void Form transforms into Void Flame, which extends Shadow Word Pain by 3 seconds, so it extends dots if you have dots on your enemy. Interesting. Mind Blast, 9-second cooldown, 1.5-second cast, no mana resource for it, generates 15 insanity, deals strong shadow damage, while in Void Form transforms into Void Blast, which has a 4.5-second cooldown, so much faster cooldown, also extends Vampiric Touch by 3 seconds. So you're gonna Mind Flay and Mind Blast in order to get the dots rolling onto target. I wonder how dot specific is Shadow Priest gonna be. Vampiric Touch, also no mana cost, 1.5-second cast, Touch of Darkness to deal damage over time, so basically the same way, and heals the priest for each point of damage dealt. So Vampiric Touch is healing you, so that means they lose DP. We lose as Shadow Priest. I'm part of that whole sect now, a cult now, of tentacles and hentai porn. I lose DP. If Vampiric touches the spell, the Dispeller flees in horror. Okay, still same. Each time Vampiric Touch deals 3 damage, generates 3 insanity. I like the fact that Vampiric Touch actually heals the priest. So you can actually have some healer mechanic. Just passive heal. I like that a lot. I know we're losing DP, but like, you're basically incorporating DP into Vampiric Touch. I like that a lot. Then we have Shadow Word Pain. Okay, so damage over time. Has a 10% chance to reset the cooldown of Mind Blast and generates insanity every time it deals damage. Alright, so that's basically a way to get more Mind Blasts off of. Mastery Madness. Increase the damage of insanity generation of your Mind Blast, Shadow Word Pain, Vampiric Touch, and Shadow Word Death dealt. But so it's all I'm guessing Shadow Priest is going to be about getting into that sanity as soon as possible, getting into it and utilizing it. So I wonder how much control a player is going to have, like in PvP, to wait off cooldowns with like team arena members. Like, hold on guys, I'm getting my insanity, I don't want to get it too quick. When you guys have cooldowns, then I'll get insanity. I wonder how that's going to work out. But it's going to be all about that, going into insanity and out. That's kind of cool. It's auto weaving from a form to form. That's interesting. I'm happy with Shadow Priest are getting. Some of the, to give you an idea what some of the talents might build upon this: Oblivion, instant 2-minute cooldown, let the power of the void flow through you, instantly generate 100 insanity. So I was just talking about how can you match that up with PvPers? Bam, you have an ability where you're insanity, you have the form needed. So interesting. So they're considering Shadow Priest for PvP and PvE. So far, Priest is great. Shadow and Holy are awesome. But let's take a look at Discipline, because this is where it's going to be the real challenge of making this hybrid kind of full-time healer class. True Discipline stems from one's ability to balance opposing powers in service of a greater cause. Pretty awesome text. Atonement is going to be a main mechanic for them. Passive, Plea, Power Word Shield, and Shadow Mend, which are the healing abilities for a Disc Priest, also apply Atonement to your target. So when you heal a target or put a bubble on them, or a Shadow Mend, which we'll read in a second, it applies Atonement. So remember that. When you deal spell damage, you instantly heal all targets affected by Atonement by 50%. Developer comment: healing is not split between atonements. The more allies you have for Atonement, the more total healing you have for damage to spell. Let's say you have 3 friendlies that you want to bubble up, right? You bubble, they're going to be taking constant damage. You start smiting your enemy over and over and penalizing them. And those targets that have Atonement, they'll get healed all for the same amount. So that's a very interesting way of playstyle. I can kind of start to see this balance of damage and healing. Mastery, Absolution, increases the healing transfer through Atonement by 28%. And I'm going to guess a Priest or Disc Priest are going to stack Mastery as well. It seems like every single class of Spec of Priest is going to stack Mastery. They have so far really good spells. Maybe Holy might stack Haste. I wouldn't even know. I'm thinking Haste to get more of those cast off to get your clues back up. Defensive portion of Disc Priest. Plea, 1.5% mana, instant, quick, efficient plea to heal an ally for a minor amount. Shadow Word Ment, a cast ability. Wrap an ally in shadows, which will heal them for a large amount, but at a price. Interesting. The ally will take minor damage every 1 second until they have taken half the amount of total damage from all sources. So once you cast this heal on them, they'll just start taking damage up until half amount of total damage from all sources. So basically, whatever you heal them for, half of that will go back as damage. So you'll heal for a lot, then you can put Absorb on them, I guess. I'm thinking Shadow Mage is going to be something as an emergency heal. So you can get their health up and then start helping them out to get health better. So this is going to be like an emergency heal, which will reduce at a time after a while. I'm taking guesses on that, but that sounds interesting of a mechanic. And that might be needed when you have to juggle healing and damage at all times. So that might be an interesting way. But it also, I like the at a price area. So I also like the Holy and Shadow. It's a Shadow heal. I've never seen one before like that. Power Word Shield, instant 6-second cooldown, shield and ally absorbing damage, while shield cost, yep, spell casting will not be done by damage, same deal. Power Word Radiance, a 2.5 second cast, burst of light heals friendly target and the 5 nearest allies for moderate amount and applies atonement at 50% of its normal duration. So you can, that's how you can AoE heal. You apply the AoE, atonement is going to be there for 50%, then you start DPSing one target, everybody's getting heals. Now, I like how they made this whole DPS healing as easy as they can for Priest without making it too diluted, without watering the whole deal down. Now offensive spells for Priest. Smite. Smite an enemy and moderate hull damage. Same thing. Mind Blast. They get shadow spells. Okay, so Disc Priest is all about balancing the shadow heals and damage spells and holy heals and damage spells. Blast the target with a strong amount of shadow damage. Penance, which is an offensive spell now, launches a volley of holy fire. So same thing, channelable while moving. Revelation, passive. Your Smite and Mind Blast cost have a 30% chance to reset cooldown of Penance. So I guess you Penance, then you Mind Blast, and then you Smite, and then you do that over and over until Penance is back. So if you're lucky, you might be able to get Penance back over and over. Shadow Word Pain, a dot, a word of darkness that causes minor shadow damage instantly, and an additional huge amount of shadow damage over 18 seconds. So far, Disc Priest sounds really interesting. I don't know how it's gonna go, not yet. Here's to give an idea what some of the talent builds might build upon this. Grace passive, increasing non-atonement healing and absorption by 30% on targets with atonement. Increasing non-atonement healing and absorption. So whenever you cast a heal on a friendly, so you can make this more, with the Grace you can make yourself more of a healer based, and your heals are going to do a little more healing to targets that do have atonement, so to help you supplement. That might be good for like emergency heal, so I'm thinking PvP here. Now, one big question that people have had is Disc Priest being like the hybrid damage dealer and as well as a healer, is it going to be a full healer or is it going to be an actual hybrid? And it's a better question of, there's still two specs of Priest that they still have. They didn't just separate them, so there's just, you know, Disc or Holy. Most people choose one or the other depending which one is best. Like I said, Disc is good for PvE and Holy is good for PvP, like back in Pandaria. People would play one or the other. So for PvP it's one, for PvE is the other. I mean, some people would mix around, but if you're like in a real progression based guild or a PvP guild, you want to pick the spec that best suits for the for what you're trying to do. And here they're making it a hybrid. I'm hoping it's just as good as Holy in terms of healing, and I hope the damage isn't like insane amount. I think Disc is either going to be really strong or maybe not strong enough. I don't know. I'm hoping it is a viable healer just like a Holy. Because what if it deals as much damage as a Shadow Priest and heals as much as a Holy? So you might as well bring a Disc Priest because they literally account for damage and a heal. But what if they only have the damage and have the healing? It's these kind of questions that kind of are going to be bugging me. But this is interesting so far. I want to see this in action. I want to see how this goes on the beta. So I'm excited. I want to play Priest. I want to play Shadow. I want to try Disc. And I want to give a Holy a trial or two. But for the most part, that didn't change. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Lots of things happening to Priest. And it makes me pretty excited. A lot of cool things happening. Disc Priest, they're trying something 100% new. And Shadow, they're changing up the playstyle a bit. So good going for Blizzard right now. So far, Legion looks like an exciting expansion, and hopefully they'll continue doing this. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. My name is Dalaran, and I'll see you guys next video whenever I do another class discussion. I still have a Paladin and then a Priest layer to go through, but that will be probably out later in the weeks. So, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you're having a great one, and I'll see you guys in the next video.